What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros. It is FOMC Day, and we're going to be talking about what's going on there. Special guest on the show, Caleb Franzen, joining us in office. He looks different here in the United States than he does via Europe, and he loves Virginia Tech. Too much there, buddy. Too much. I don't know where that's been. So, Caleb, tell us how you're feeling today, where you're thinking about the markets right now. Yeah, that's true. That is true. Well, Caleb, it's good having you here in studio. Go participate with your mother. All right. Good intro. Always love when the kids come around here. What's going on, though, everybody? We do have some serious takes, though, when it comes to the crypto world. Jerome Powell, I think he's still standing on stage as we are speaking. Ultimately, though, kind of as we predicted earlier, not a lot. They're pausing rates, but what does this mean for the world of crypto? We do actually have the actual Caleb Franzen join the show today, as well as T-Shroom to break it all down. Let's go ahead and introduce the co-hosts for the day. How you boys feeling? What's your guys' original take? Having watched a little bit of Jerome Powell, we hear the numbers of pause again. Caleb, tell me about the shock and awe coming from you that we have not lowered interest rates yet.
Yeah, no shock and awe yet. I think my timeline is still Q3, but I don't know if people were actually expecting rate cuts today. They got another thing coming. We'll have a lot to talk about for sure.
Yeah, T-Shroom, I didn't even get to ask you, and I know you're just burning inside right now. How are you feeling today?
Well, I'm feeling better than I deserve. Right, good. And that has a lot to do with just how great of a job that Jerome Powell has done for the United States of America.
That's true.
We don't deserve him. I don't deserve him. He is who he is, and without the data, where would he be? So we really, it's a big day for data. It's a big day for Jerome, and we got to pause. We would have liked to have seen a cut. We got to pause, and here we are. But you can't ask for much more because after all, I'm doing better than I deserve already.
That's true. It's very true. And we're going to get more into the numbers, into the data, and everything else. So glad to have Caleb on. It's Caleb Wednesday. You guys, if you're excited about that, smash that like button. T-Shroom, do we have a quote of the day to get this fantastic show rolling?
Of course we have a quote of the day, Tim. What would it be without a quote of the day here on the Investing Bros? This is an oldie but a goodie. We've run this one before. It's from your boy Socrates. He said, "The secret of change is to focus all of your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new." That they're from Socrates. Some people pronounce it Socrates. What'd you think about that one there, Tim?
Well, wasn't yesterday's quote about change? T-Shirt, what's happening? You're going on other podcasts, you're taking job interviews. All the quotes are about change. I'm seeing a pattern develop over the last couple of days, and I'm scared about digging into the details.
Just trying to set you up, Tim. Just trying to get you emotionally ready, going through the shallow end. I don't want you to have to take a deep dive.
You are successful. You are successful there. Caleb, what do you think? What do you think about T-Shroom's quote of the day? Does it burn within your chest as something that just gets you excited about the crypto markets?
It does, and it really reminds me of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, which always brings back good memories too. So, good old Socrates.
There we go. There we go. Well, real quickly, let's check out, before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show, let's check out what the markets are doing. It's still showing red here if we go to my screen here, T-Shroom. Oh, no, it just updated. It's still not on my screen. There we go. Look at that. It was red a second ago, flashed green now. We're green on the day, up almost 1% on Bitcoin. I'm going to show something here in just a second, just on the smaller time frames to look at. But Ethereum up 1.85%. I do believe there's been some bigger Ethereum news here more recently. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Solana up 1%. A lot of 1%ers up today. Nothing necessarily huge. Dogecoin kind of gives us the biggest leader of the top 10, almost up 5%. Let's see what the biggest gainers are. Stacks, almost 14%. IO's network, I don't even know how you pronounce it. AIOZ. How would we pronounce this one, T-Shroom?
IOs. I don't know.
IOs. Let's go with it. That's better than what I was thinking. Thorchain up 13.4% as well. Pepe back up. We have Floki as well. So we got some memes kind of rounding up our top 10 biggest gainers of the day. What about those losers? Why is the number one loser a big gainer? Aptos. I don't know what's happening there. Glitch. And there it goes. It fixes. Aptos
Crazy.
down 6.7%. They're getting you today. They're getting you today. AVAX down 6%. That's one of the coins in my portfolio for this week to short. So I love seeing that because yesterday I was in the red on that trade. Today I'm squarely in the green if the dip continues. But if the rally comes back, maybe I missed my chance to take some good profit. Sui as well as in that, and Dog with Hat, one of the memes. We have two memes in the top gainers, one meme in the loser, so we're not seeing confluence amongst the meme world today. But as a whole, as expected, we got some volatility surrounding the Jerome Powell FOMC meeting. Dips before, rallies during the speech. Guess what? In case you're wondering what's happening next in price action, you still got probably 24 hours of volatility before the markets really show what they want to do. And we're going to cover some charts. We're going to cover some news here. But not T-Shroom, I do want to hear what you think too, Shroom. But I want to throw it to Caleb because this is Caleb Wednesday. Caleb, you kind of gave it a little bit, but give us some of your feedback. Give me your thoughts. Now we're at pause rates now. We're seeing, I think it was certain stocks and certain, I think, was it NASDAQ that went to new all-time high? Was it S&P went to new all-time high after Jerome Powell spoke? What are you seeing in the markets giving you some comfort, maybe some doubt? What's your overall view after this FOMC meeting today?
I think I had a couple of takeaways from the actual FOMC press release. One of them came from the dot plot and the projections for this year. So a couple of things that really stood out to me from that. First of all, the Fed increased their expectations for real GDP growth in 2024. Okay. They lowered, or I guess I should say that they improved their expectation for the unemployment rate to 4% versus 4.1%, I think was the last one. And they basically kept a lot of their inflation expectations flat for this year. I think they did raise core PCE expectations. And then the last point on that was that they basically just kept their expectations for rate cuts this year flat as well, right? So I think a lot of people were expecting to see a hawkish Fed in light of some of the reaccelerations that we had seen in inflation over the last two readings. But, Powell even acknowledged that, these reports weren't great, but they didn't necessarily disprove that disinflation was going away, right? Like the disinflationary trend is still intact. And what he basically acknowledged that it's a bumpy road, right? And so certainly it's not just going to be a straight path down to 2%. We all know this. And so I think it was a little bit reassuring to hear that confidence coming from the Fed. How much of it is posturing? How much of that does he actually believe versus how much of that do they just need to say to the markets in order to instill some degree of confidence, right? So I think that was important. One other thing that I found really important was that Powell did actually mention that the Fed was having conversations about the rate of balance sheet runoff, right? And maybe tapering and or slowing down the rate with which they are letting assets roll off and expire off their balance sheet. So I think from what I saw watching the press conference live is that the market really liked hearing that information, right? Because it basically means that not as much financial tightness is going to be coming down the system, right? So on net, it's an ease in a way without actually having to touch rates. So I thought that was important. And again, it's kind of like the rhetoric that Powell was saying is like, we're talking about the rate of runoff, right? It's like but they're slowly easing the market to know that, hey, this is where we're headed. This is what we're thinking about doing before they're actually going about doing it, right? So again, the Fed doesn't want to surprise the markets. They want to temper the market's expectations and guide the market slowly along the path of expectations.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting take here. JD said super dovish. I think he means dovish, but dovish. He must know something coming up. Yeah, like I think even what you're kind of saying there is he trying to prepare the world for the slow turning. He doesn't want the rates to be a peak and then just drop all of a sudden. He wants a slow turn. We've had how many months now? I've lost track of how long we've been paused. Is it 6 months now? Is it
I think it's
5? Okay. He doesn't want to just immediately drop it. He wants a slow curve. What was I going to say? I was looking up CME futures. We haven't used this a lot too much recently. We used to look at it almost daily. Of course, this is today. So the fact that it's not 100% in that we're going to pause rates, I don't know what they're doing here in CME futures. May, though, still looking overwhelming that they're going to stay paused, 88%. Now, this is where they're going to disagree with you, Caleb. I know you're still a fan of the Q3 rate cut. They still have June coming in as roughly, we're looking at a 75% chance of at least 25 basis point cut is what FedWatch Tool is predicting at this time. For you, I think we talked about this last week. You're still leaning maybe closer to September. There's an outside chance of July, but you're thinking September is when we get the first cut?
That's right. Yeah, September.
Yeah. Yeah, and see what it is saying here is Fed Watch Tool September. There's only 2.9% saying that we would still stay paused, according to the Fed Watch Tool. So interesting to see that there. But Caleb has been right about this a lot more. I don't know. If I'm a betting man here, I might put more money on Caleb Franzen indicator tool than I am on the Fed Watch Tool. T-Shroom, what says you? What are your thoughts as we're coming out of this March FOMC meeting?
Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of my thoughts are going back to the dot plot. And I did want to correct myself. I said it was 5 months. So Altcoin Daily has a tweet out here. According to them, Federal Reserve voted to hold interest rates at 2023 year high for a 6th consecutive meeting. So 6, not 5 consecutive
but there's been several pauses. So that means, I mean, we're probably sitting closer to 8 months of not having a rate hike for. Good.
I think they hiked in July was the last hike. And so they've basically been paused since the July meeting. I think they did their first pause in June. They hiked again in July, and then they've been paused since then, if my memory is correct.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's something along those lines. My overall take from just listening to Jerome Powell's speech was he was calm, he was cool, he's collected, and it was a little bit of a victory lap in some sense that maybe kind of early calling the soft landing. Now let me make it clear, he did not say that, right? But that was kind of the tone. He was a little bit more upbeat, at least again my subjective interpretation. And then he was also able to he gestured to the SEP where they have raised their future projections of growth, right? Which to me is kind of Fed speak for the soft. Y'all got a soft landing. I'm a badass. Thank you very much. I'll take my trophy in another 10 years of doing this. A lot of people are going to disagree with that and say he didn't start cutting early enough, into the pandemic. But obviously, this is kind of a point where the Fed looks good, right? And they want to continue to posture in that way and kind of project to the economy, hey, keep issuing loans, keep buying and selling, keep the economy going here. Everything is under control. When meanwhile, there are some statistics that are out there that are worrying, and the kind of the biggest meme going around is that millennials are finding it more and more difficult to purchase homes, and with rates elevated, that is only exacerbating that issue. So that's kind of my main takeaway from the press conference. Again, from a Wall Street standpoint, I'm very impressed. Like looking at it from their lens. From a crypto standpoint, it's kind of neutral. Right, it doesn't seem like it's going to have a huge effect on Bitcoin or Ethereum until the cuts start to come more into play, which doesn't seem to be anytime soon. In kind of what I'm interpreting.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. Let's check out some charts here real quickly before we go deeper in the conversation and get into some news, because FOMC wasn't the only thing here. I'm down on the 10-minute chart. We're looking at the Dixie here, and let's look at the big movers, because we did start to trail downward this morning before the announcements, but let's look at the big candles. 10-minute candle coming in right at 2 o'clock, right? So a big move on the Dixie in comparison to previous moves of other 10-minute candles. Big move on the announcement. Then we kind of traded sideways all the way until the actual Jerome Powell announcement on stage. He begins to speak. You can see for the first couple of minutes there, we continued those big bearish pulls. We corrected, though, promptly at 3 o'clock. Now, this got a lot to continue to watch play out here. We're on 10-minute charts here. Let's not get overwhelmingly bullish just because we see bearish. So we see the Dixie go up. But let's not overreact to 2 10-minute bullish candles on the dollar, but it does look, when you zoom out here, you go to larger time frames, we fell to levels of previous support, kind of areas we had just been in here a couple of days ago, and now it does look like we're finding some form of a smaller time frame support here on the Dixie. Before I'm going to guess Caleb's take on that as well, I wanted to go over to the Bitcoin chart, where we're seeing some good moves here on the 10 minutes, and we're not seeing the reversals just yet, but you can see here, big bullish move. This was not actually when the announcement came in. We had a big bullish move on Bitcoin about 50 minutes before. So this is around 1:10 Eastern Standard Time. Around 2 o'clock, the price action just kind of got boring and waited for Jerome Powell to take the stage. And something happened. He said something. I wasn't tracking what he said right at 2:40. But at 2:40, the bulls started to crank it again here on Bitcoin. What I'm watching, though, on these shorter time frames, we're right back up to resistance. In fact, I talked about this morning in our Discord to some of our members. Hey, look for a move back up in this area, and we come back into some resistance. You guys know the expression where the candle wicks, you'll eventually candlesticks. Well, we're in a falling trading channel. And the rally we had here just yesterday on the 19th, we didn't get back up to resistance, but we wicked right up to where we are currently, the price is currently sitting at a red level of resistance in that falling trading channel. So are we about to break bullish and move to the upside? Or, like we talked about, the volatility that comes on FOMC days, did we just move to a range high, and are we about to see some blood? We did hit my Bitcoin prediction down to 63,000. In fact, we went lower, down towards 60,927, which is kind of an interesting spot to me. It would have made more sense to possibly come down to maybe hit 60,000 clean, maybe even hit 59,000, hit this wick from back here on March 5th, or potentially even go all the way back down towards 57, 55 to this yellow rising level of former resistance, maybe turn that into support. I'm going to throw it to you, Caleb. What are your thinking about price action here? Do you think that when the prices on Bitcoin are rallying are going to be sustained and we're going to see a bigger breakthrough? Or are you kind of in the boat of saying, hey, let's wait a little bit. This is still volatility off of the FOMC decision.
Let's cover the Dixie first. I loved what you mentioned there. I'm sharing my screen on this with daily candles. And what I've done on this chart is I'm showing the 200-day moving average cloud. And so yesterday's price action, we briefly got above this cloud. And then today's price action, it's looking like an absolute failed breakout, right? So we're coming right back down below that level. And we can see just how clearly this has acted as a breakdown signal.
Yeah, real quick, before we go too much further, T-Shroom,
sure.
Let's adjust people on here so that I think Caleb is blocking his own point. There we go.
There we go.
Perfect.
Awesome. So what I was saying was today it looks like the Dixie is having a failed breakout above that 200-day moving average cloud. I expected this to act as resistance, so I was a little bit surprised yesterday when we did get back above it. But like I'm saying, we needed to get that confirmation. We're not getting it today, right? So, hey, maybe we are making a lower high through this range. The other thing I wanted to mention here is if we go into something like 2-hour candles on total 3, not only did we use that 200-day moving average cloud as support back here, we've been trying to use it as resistance. And, you can make the case we're moving within somewhat of a bull flag right here, right? If we really zoom out on this, right, this looks pretty bull flaggy, right? And we certainly haven't had a breakout. We're coming into that resistance zone right now. So it'll be interesting to see how it reacts and how it behaves here. But I think we are seeing constructive signs, right? And again, I think the Bitcoin drawdown that we just experienced was 15%. That is totally normal and to be expected volatility for this type of asset class, right? And so during that period, we've certainly seen some alts, things included in total 3, fall more than 20, 25, even 30%. So in a lot of ways, right, this has been a complete sentiment reset after hitting all-time highs. We know that hitting new all-time highs is a bullish signal for Bitcoin and for most assets, if we're being quite frank. And so I think that the fact that we've had a little bit of a breather come out of this market, was I expecting the breather? No. But do I see the breather as being as a negative sign? I also don't see that as being a negative sign, right? It's healthy, it's constructive. We're getting a bit of a reset. It's cool to see bears take some victory laps after being wrong for 18 months. So, kudos for them. They capitalized on a 15% drawdown. But I think they have more pain ahead.
Yeah, you got to give credit to the bears when they get one right. It's definitely, it's nice to see, get a win every once in a while. But overall, man, this Fed meeting was interesting. I think that it's kind of a, we're headed in one very certain direction for the rest of the year. I mean, they kind of said that they're going to get 3 more rate cuts this year at some point. That was somewhat solidified. So that's something for the market to really rally on, and that is what we've seen on at least on the equity side. But
you cannot deny the pumping that's happening here. And I'm looking, there's a lot of positive signs of bullish momentum here. Again, it's too early to say 100% either way, but let's look at the oscillators and how they're responding here on Bitcoin. MACD 4-hour chart. Now we're talking about 4-hour chart. So this isn't telling us like the next month of Bitcoin's price action, but it is communicating a heavy momentum for potentially the next couple of days. We're about to get a strong MACD cross right here as we're getting to that level of resistance. So let's penetrate the resistance. Let's get back above before we celebrate here, all the bulls. but we are seeing some positive signs out here on the 4-hour chart. And I was looking for lower time frames, maybe to see if we can see some vulnerability from an oscillator perspective. Of course, we're probably going to find some levels of overbought and take profit. But what I'm seeing here, let's look at the oscillator from ALGO. This is the 15-minute chart. Yeah, we had the excessive buyers leave, but as a whole, the money flow is still staying strong. The bullish momentum is continuing up. Yeah, we're getting red reversal, but until I see the other indicators here start to tell us bearish, we're not even sitting on a bearish 15-minute chart. You go even lower, it looks like potentially the 5-minute, even though the oscillator's moving down, it looks like the buyers and the money flow is still picking up steam. So not seeing any weakness right now on the Bitcoin charts, whether you're starting down towards the 5-minute chart or you're going up towards the 4-hour chart, which is the best indication of what the next couple of days could look like. So again, let's wait before we celebrate, but those are positive signs. That is what the Bitcoin bulls were looking for in a season where it was dropping. And I don't think we quite got to 20% to the downside here on Bitcoin, did we?
Just
we made
shy.
it to about 1757. How do you guys feel about that? How do you feel? Did you just not care? Were you looking for a 20%, 15%? Caleb, I know you made a post the other day that even though you might have been like everyone gets things wrong time to time, you said I might have gotten this one move wrong, but I'm still getting the macro wrong. What was your expectation of this dip? Were you expecting 20%? Were you expecting more than that? Do you think that it's over, or do you think we're seeing the positive signs we need to resume and go hit new highs?
No, I think we're seeing positive signs.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're seeing positive signs. I'm seeing Bitcoin trading just above 65,000 right now. It's like, did I expect that we would see the flush from 73 down to, I think we got almost to 60,000. Maybe we traded in that range. No, I didn't. But I think the fact that, we've seen buyers step in, we've continued to see strong ETF dynamics take place. And again, it's just like this market has been resilient. Can that change? Yes, of course. But I was happy to buy more Bitcoin in the 63,000 range. So I'm all good with that. I've been buying ETHE, the Grayscale Ethereum Trust. That's trading at a 20% discount to net asset value right now. So I've been happy to pick some of that up. I've added to my MicroStrategy position on Monday and Tuesday. I've been happy to have this dip, even though I didn't necessarily see it coming. So.
Yeah, and that's the ultimate thing is people act like if you make a call wrong that your whole world is over. The key to success, everybody, is you might have a prediction for one way or the other, and you might be right, you might be wrong, but the winners don't always get things right. They just have plans for if they're wrong. So it's like that. Caleb's not freaking out. He might went a little lower than he thought, but it's just a greater opportunity to buy some more discounted assets. That is how you win the game of investing.
Yeah.
T-Strom, throw it to you. Any of your thoughts there?
Well, I was just gonna jump in there with a little quote cap, just to kind of summarize it all. It's really well said here by Nathan Rothschild. He said, "The time to buy is when there's blood in the streets." Of course, I wouldn't characterize this not even 20% pullback as blood in the streets. But what is illustrated here that is important is you buy when others are nervous, buy when others are fearful. And as long as you're investing in something you have high conviction in, right? Not just some, therapeutics company that you've never heard of before, but your buddy told you about. You got to be confident in it. But when you buy it is important, and when you sell it is also important. But usually you're making most of your money when you're buying things at a discount, and there's never a better time in the market when assets are discounted is when fear is all throughout the market. And that is what we're seeing right now here in crypto. It's like night and day. It's like flipping a switch. One moment you're seeing nothing but euphoric memes. We're all going to be millionaires, just dunking on people who've missed out on Bitcoin. And look, I get it. I'm right there with you with those memes. But now, only a week removed, and everybody's like, oh man, the somber tone is there. Everybody's freaking out. And the real OGs are buying when there's not quite blood in the streets, but there's tears. There's tears definitely in the chat. So that's when I'm buying as well.
Yeah, I'll put it this way, though. Do you think, though, and I know, Caleb, you're leaning more bullish right now, so we might get to have some interesting constructive debates right here. Are you hearing, because I think a lot of the space is still positive, and a lot of times with corrections, especially like ones we've seen recently, the correction's not over until there's a heavy amount of pessimistic nature in chats and in Twitter and YouTube. And to me, I'm just to be honest with you, again, it didn't hit the levels I thought it would hit. So I'm going to say, like, I don't know if we're done yet, but even to me, I still think there maybe is too much positivity. I can't remember who tweeted this out, but I love this because it ends up being true more often than not, that even during bull markets, a lot of times corrections or dips, they go until the average retail investor is convinced the bull market is over. And that's when you find your bottom and it corrects to the upside, and then you have your new all-time highs. And to me, even though, we're talking about 17% for Bitcoin, Cardano fell like 30%, Solana fell like 22%. There's certain tokens pushing closer to 40. I don't feel like we got the full negativity. I don't feel like I saw people sway on the bullish momentum. Now, the argument can be made this time's different, and that's why no one's doing that. Caleb, argue with me here. Tell me why I'm being stupid and the bullishness is good for long-term bullishness.
Well, I would never say you're being stupid, Tim. So let's get that out of the way first. The pushback that I would have, though.
My wife tells me all the time, so I'm used
to it. Okay, so I ran a poll. I think it was yesterday or it was yesterday. And the poll was simple. I said, did Bitcoin have its year-to-date peak? And 30% of 3,000 plus respondents said yes. So 30% of people who responded to that poll, most of them are likely crypto bulls or Bitcoin optimists, said that Bitcoin is peaked year to date. They think that the high is in.
Let me ask you this. Is there an outside chance that Peter Schiff just created a bunch of accounts to vote on your poll?
There is a chance, yeah. I love that he responded to T. Shroom's comment where he tagged me in it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, that was epic. I'm getting that framed.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I think it would be tough. I mean, Peter Schiff, he's a smooth operator, but I think spinning up 3,600 bots is probably a little bit out of his scope.
Yeah. It may be.
Yeah.
To be fair, it'd only be about 1,000 because he only had to take 30% of the vote. But still, I think he might have better things to do with his time.
I appreciate that.
That's interesting, and I think that does go far. I'm going to still kind of play the devil's advocate here. The argument, though, is, to me, I think what I would be looking for is maybe closer to 50%. Now, what that means is if we do correct, and let's say we go up to 75 by the end of this week, to me that just says, all right, this really wasn't a major correction. This was just another hiccup, and Bitcoin still hasn't had its bull market correction. And again, people are going to argue, what classifies a correction? Are we a mature enough space right now that we no longer need 30% pullbacks? Is 20% on Bitcoin? Is that the new 40% in terms of past bull markets? That's an argument easily to be made. But to me, like I said, historically, the bull market corrections cause fear in a level that makes people, a massive amount of retail investors, believe that potentially the bull market is over. And I think 30% means we're well on the way. But to me, I feel like there'd be a little bit higher numbers coming in at the actual bottom.
I hear you on that. But again, I think the context on it is key, right? It's not, has Bitcoin reached a peak for the next month? People think that the year-to-date highs are in, and we're not even 3 months into the year, right? So people are saying that is a top. It's not a local top. 30% of respondents think it is the top, right? And so to your point about the severity of drawdowns this cycle, I've been saying now for a couple of months that I think the max drawdown this cycle is probably going to be about 25% because we have these ETFs here. And so yesterday we had a massive amount of net outflows. I'm sharing my screen on this for all of the spot Bitcoin ETFs. But even the net outflows yesterday of 146 million weren't larger than Monday's inflows of 171. And so I would expect, based on the price action that we're seeing today, that we're going to see a massive amount of net inflows today. So positive flows into the spot Bitcoin ETFs, despite Grayscale's outflows. And so I feel like these ETFs, and I'm not saying that this time is different. That's not what I'm saying. But the fact of the matter is that the players have changed, and there is sufficient demand where I think that the magnitude of drawdowns that we should expect to see in a cycle should be more muted than past cycles. In addition to the fact that it's just a more mature asset, right? We have different players in the game now, different on-ramps to get into the game. And the asset is now 15 years old instead of the last halving cycle where we were only 11 going on 12 years old.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And by the way, 25%, let's pretend, I like that. 25% might be the most severe we get a dip. That would still, at this point, if we don't, if we keep falling and this is the 25% fall, that would bring us down roughly to about $55,000, a level that I've seen several people talk about. Kind of puts us in a similar camp. Again, I kind of have this yellow line, which is, you can have a wick drop down below and have candle body closes here. But I've talked heavily about the 57K zone as being a conservative zone around 20%. 55K, though, is an interesting spot. I've heard several others talk about. It's not one that necessarily has any recent significance, and that's something I'm sitting here saying that it's kind of in an awkward zone right there, 55. I kind of feel like let's back up here. Let's look at the longer time frame levels here, because you can see, I'm going to get rid of this 55K. You got to go a little bit lower towards 53 to get back to some form of resistance here. Even this resistance goes back in play. Let's see what the significance of 55 since the time that Bitcoin's even traded in that zone. If there's any significance to 55, no, there's a nice dip right around 53. Okay, we talked about that one. I really like volume gaps. A lot of times I see those being strong reversals. 55 kind of sitting in an awkward zone that I think in this case, I'm a bigger fan of probably either a 20% or what would a pullback to 53 look like? Because that looks like a spot that potentially could be a reasonable. I did not grab the tool correctly. Let's see here again. 53 would bring us down to a roughly 28%. Would you be willing to say 27, 28 is possible?
I would, and it's not on your chart here, but the short-term holder realized price is trading just above 53,000. So, I did a post about this on Twitter yesterday saying, the lowest that I'm willing to go right now is to that short-term holder realized price. And right now I think it's around 53.1K. So, I actually have the chart right here if you guys want to go to my screen on this really quick. If we go from the former all-time highs to today, and we look at the short-term holder realized price, that's sitting as of yesterday at 53.3K, or as of a few days ago. So, maybe after today's price action, we're closer to 54,000, right? So again, getting into that range makes a lot of sense, both in terms of the price structure levels, the percent decline levels, and the short-term holder realized price, all sitting right there.
Well, let's add some more sauce to the pot. Let's go over to liquidations here. Check this out, T-Shroom. We have a little bit fat liquidity down here at 60,000, but then look at this next interesting spot on the 7-day. There you go. Yeah. You got to dot. You got to
dodge and weave.
The next significant spot here on the 7-day, there's a pocket of liquidations right around 55, but it starts to dwindle. Where? Right there around 53,500. So again, we're actually seeing a lot of things as we're kind of unwrapping this. We didn't plan this, by the way, guys. I don't know if any of us came into this talking to saying, guys, we're gonna talk about 53,000 a day, but a lot of different indicators showing some confluence that, again, this is all hypothetical, meaning if we keep dropping, who knows? Maybe the bulls take back control and we're at $77,000 tomorrow. I don't know. But if a drop continues to happen, keep an eye on 53,000. And between 53, 54, there's a lot of buying that could happen right in that spot.
Well, Roger Flores is jumping in with some trading psychology, and I've got a comment on this as well. He said, I feel this cycle is different because so-called dumb money aren't that dumb anymore. Not that our first rodeo, so we don't sell, just buy at discount. And most noobs haven't FOMO'd in yet. It's an interesting thought. Yeah. And I think a lot of people would discount that, but I think that there might be a growing truth to that. What I'll cite today is actually if you haven't seen this already, Wolf of Wall Street's Scott Melker. He just had Eric Bocanis on, as well as James Seyffert. And
James Seyfert's a cool guy, cool vest too.
He is.
We gotta get some investing bro vests like James Seyffert.
Exactly. He's the ETF Chad.
Yes.
And then so Eric Bocanis was talking about how there's actually a situation right now where money managers are not going and selling the spot Bitcoin ETFs to their clients. Now, of course, some of them probably are doing that, or finding ways to kind of communicate that. But clients can absolutely come to the wealth managers and ask, hey, I want to get into Bitcoin, and then that conversation starts. But apparently initiating, and this was something that Eric was highlighting, is initiating those conversations is actually something that it's not like it's illegal, but like initiating that with your client is maybe not the best idea and could potentially get you into trouble if you're doing that. So what does that mean? That means that there is still a decent amount. It's very bullish, right? Because a lot of the boomer money is still not converted, not allocated into Bitcoin. That will be. before the end of the bull market, right? And that's probably what the bull market will be, right? But also that also means that kind of the market that we're in right now you can expect those bigger pullbacks because and to use the phrase that Roger was saying, the dumb money is still kind of at play, scared money. Now Roger's point is that dumb money has been educated and has kind of gone through this strength test again and again through the different bear and bull markets, and now that money isn't as stupid. That's a question I'd like to pose to you all. Do you think that the market participants of old, bull and bear markets, do you feel like they're more educated and they may be less likely to sell? That their hands are stronger? They've been doing some grip strength exercises.
You want me to take this one, Tim?
Yeah, you take it. I'll go after you.
I'll keep it super quick, right? So every cycle, the last cycle participants become more educated, right? And then we get to stack on the former cycle. So we're experiencing that once again. I think that's what Roger's mentioning. If you want to share my screen on this, there's the Coinbase app rank tracker. Cool. Today, of all apps on the App Store, it's ranked 230, and it actually fell versus yesterday. Mm-hmm. And within finance apps, it did rise up to 20. Oh, wow. But again, we're not seeing a massive influx of that new marginal retail participant, right? So again, like I'm not getting texts from random people in my personal life saying, is now a good time to buy Bitcoin? I'm getting texts from people who are celebrating Bitcoin's prices, right? Yeah. My normie friends who are stoked to see new all-time highs. But I'm not necessarily getting that new person who's never asked me about crypto before hit me up and say, hey, is now a good time to buy? How high do you think it can go? Like I'm not getting those questions, right?
You're
so
right.
When we look at the app tracker information here, I think that is generally kind of confirming that sign. So that's all I wanted to mention. I'll pass it over to Tim here.
Yeah, real quick, Caleb, could you copy the link to that channel and post it in chat? I, for one, would love to follow that. I'm sure there's a lot of people in chat.
I'm doing that right now, Caleb.
T-Shroom's doing it. Never mind.
Well, you're our guest, Caleb. You're not here to do all the hard work. You're our guest.
Yeah, no, to be honest, there's a lot I agree with what Caleb said. What I'll say is they'll come in phases, right? I'm going to be more worried about the bull market top when we see Coinbase get into the top. I think we said top 10 is like historically when we see a top 10 posting.
Yep.
That's a pretty good sign to sell your crypto and walk away when Coinbase gets into the top 10 of all apps. Like he says, 230. So there's an outside chance we're not talking about significance, but I want to make sure people are aware. And I'm not telling you guys to look for middle of the bull market places to take profit, but more so, this is what I want people to be prepared for. If you buy right now at $65,000, good buy, right? It's better than buying at $70,000. But don't freak out if/when the price goes to $53,000, as we're talking about, right? Know that you're taking an educated risk and there's an outside chance of a deeper fall, and that'll make you sleep better at night, not second guess your pickings. Because what happens is, guys, is a lot of times I see, and we're talking about smart money, dumb money, even experienced money, like you've been in for multiple cycles, but you play the dumb part. You buy here at 65, and then the price starts dipping. You're like, crap, I bought too soon. And then you go sell at somewhere like $55,000 thinking we're going to go a lot lower. And then all of a sudden it bottoms out and takes back off. And by the time you get back into it, you missed your golden opportunity. And that's ultimately what I'm talking about with smart money, dumb money. While I think there's a lot less dumb money in the space right now than there was at the top of the last bull market. Caleb's absolutely right. It's cycles. Guess what? I was dumb money when I first got in, and I'm not going to call myself the smartest of smart money. I still put myself in a little bit of a zone of saying, like, you know what? I have a long way to go to learn more. I know more than I knew 4 years ago, but I got a long way to go. There will be a whole new wave of dumb money that makes the markets do crazy things. And there will be people that lived through the last bull market who just miss it because they're not quite smart money yet. This is a good reason to keep watching whale alerts, keep watching whale charts, keep watching what the people who not only have been in Bitcoin for, maybe 10 years, but also look at the big money. How's big money moving? And I'm not talking about Michael Saylor, because that man just does nothing but buy. Don't follow his wallets and think that you're going to learn anything about market movements. It's the most worthless wallet to track for that purpose. But watch other large wallets and how they move. And ultimately, I agree with Caleb. We're not at a level where there's a lot of new dumb money in the space, but there is some. I will say there's some. I have had a couple conversations with friends who were saying, hey, man, what wallet are you suggesting? I had conversations. Some of you guys know I work with ALGO, and not only we promote it here on the channel, but I actually work with ALGO. Love the company, love what they're doing there. But I'm talking with some stock traders, which a couple of them really cool guys. Love to have them come on the channel at some point and get to hear from their perspective. But they're shifting their content into crypto content right now. Why? Because there's a lot of attention. What does that mean? There's a lot of people who are used to trading stocks and they're used to doing stuff, but know nothing about crypto, starting to look into and get used to the crypto market. They're going to come in and see this chart that we're looking at here on Bitcoin and say, oh my gosh, which I'm not showing you the right chart. They're going to come in here and look at the daily chart.
Just any chart.
They're going to look at these. They're going to look at these explosive rallies and say, oh, that's an oversold market right there. They're not emotionally attached to Bitcoin just yet. They're going to see this and say it's oversold. So I want you guys to know, when you get the big money and experienced traders from other places that come in, they might not operate as dumb money, but they'll operate with a lot of common sense. I'm just not going to be surprised to still see. I'm willing to kind of concede to the 28, 25% zone. I do think this market's different. I'm kind of talking myself out of the 30 to 40% dips on Bitcoin. I still believe those happen for altcoins. But look for dumb money, meaning new investors as a whole, compared with stock money, who's going to be coming into the space. It's not going to flow and operate the way that you think it should just because you lived through one market. You do need to continue to be prepared for a lot of volatility in the crypto space.
And the other thing too, the other buyer that's definitely here is the leverage trader, right? So there's also a lot of margin, there's a lot of leverage in kind of gaming the spot price for Bitcoin. And every time, every single time there's a huge movement to the downside, there's always huge liquidations, and that's not a coincidence, right? It's a lot of people leverage trading, and those guys aren't going anywhere. They're going to sit there and trade one of the most valuable and volatile assets till probably the end of time. Like it's just a great coin to trade, and so that's something to consider as well. And they are highly educated. There's a lot of degenerate traders who are coming in for the first time and losing, right? But then there's a lot of traders who are making a sustained income on just trading. And, when they're losing positions, it may be a small position for them that gets liquidated, but all those traders put together make up a big portion of money and a big margin base that when it gets liquidated, it looks big, it looks scary, and that has a very scary effect on price. And we've seen that kind of play out here. I was looking for graphics for the stonk meme and realized that apparently Fortnite had a stonks character that you could play. And the name is Diamond Hands, which is pretty sick. I might have to fire up Fortnite and go buy this skin now. Are we sponsored by Fortnite? Yes. No.
Clearly Brian Armstrong, right?
Yeah, kind of does look like him, doesn't it?
Brian Armstrong. Yeah.
That's great.
Well, let's transition here. There's still other news. There's still other coins. We talked a lot about Bitcoin, talked a lot about the FOMC. If you guys have enjoyed the conversation, smash the like button and hit subscribe. T-shirt, what else is happening today in the world besides the FOMC?
Well, to be honest with you, Tim, there's not a whole lot. I mean, some of the things that I've reported on this week that really came to mind that I'd love to get Caleb's impression on was that the largest Japanese state pension said that they're looking into Bitcoin, whatever that means. Well, I don't know what a big what that's the question. What do you think a bunch of state employees do? What are they actually doing when they're looking into Bitcoin? What do you think what is their first Google search? What does their method of research look like?
I have no clue, man. Watching the investing bros. Come on.
That's it.
That's it.
Ding,
right
ding,
there.
ding. He won. That was
right
factoid of the day. Caleb got it right.
Yeah. They don't even go somewhere where they already speak Japanese. They're just like, we'll translate it. The news is, the information is so crispy. It's so alpha impact. And so we got to make sure that we go to the investing bros. And so should you. Smash the like button. I know we just CTA'd that already, but smash the like button and subscribe, because not only are you watching with a bunch of millionaire crypto traders, you're also watching with the Japanese money managers of the state pension fund. You heard it here from Caleb Franson. So I love it. But other news, I mean, let's see. The Coinbase trial should be coming to a close here probably in the next quarter or two. There's a couple of different things, but to be honest with you, I mean, the big news is going to be, the FOMC outcome, which, the market seemed to be taking in stride. And we've seen decisions where the market will go up convincingly, but then over the next 48 hours, maybe manipulators, maybe just normal market organic trends, the market will go ahead and sell off. And I mean that on the equity side. Do you think that there's a possibility of that, if the market's kind of having a head fake here, but it will show a lot more disappointment potentially?
No, I don't see that. If you want to go to my screen here real quick, I'm gonna post about this in 15 minutes on Twitter when we actually get the close. But what we're looking at here is the equal weight version of the S&P 500. Back here were the former all-time highs from Q4 of 2021 going into January of 2022. We had a breakout to new all-time highs here for the equal weight version of the S&P 500, retested that support zone, and now we're rebounding higher. We're on track for the highest daily close of all time for the equal weight S&P. So you take all 500 stocks in the S&P 500, you ignore their market cap, you equal weight them, and you track that basket, it's going to close at the all-time highest level today. That's certainly not bearish, right? I don't view the market action today as being a head fake. I would actually argue that the market action that we've been seeing last week and maybe at the tail end of the prior week has been much more of the head fake, right? And now we're just seeing that little bit of exhaustion kind of tail out, and now that strength is stepping back in. Buyers are stepping in. The S&P 500 on a market cap weighted basis, hitting new all-time highs today. This has been one of the most massive rallies we've seen in a very long time, right? Huge rally here. If we look at the NASDAQ, this is getting pretty darn close to the all-time high daily close, right? And one of the things that I had mentioned, I can't remember if it was on Patreon or on Twitter somewhere, but we had this huge gap fill right here in this blue zone, right? If I go ahead and get rid of this drawing, you could see this massive gap here going from February 21st to February 22nd. And so we've defended that gap now several times. We've used it as support, right? So again, this looks like another breakout, retest, rebound type of setup. And, all of these indexes look like they're about to close at session highs and make new all-time highs or close at new all-time highs, right? All of this is really good indication from the market and from investors, broadly speaking.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I was just brought a couple of headlines because we were asking, what's some other news that's going on here? But Tim, I want to give you a chance to react to what Caleb just said.
Listen, I'm not going to try to argue with what Caleb's saying, and especially when he's looking at the stock side of it. Everything he's saying is checking out. The only thing I would say is and I'm just telling you guys as witnessing them, and you guys can, if you remember, you can relate. Maybe you have a different opinion. Historically, though, the days after, 24 hours after the FOMC is when we actually know what's going to happen. There's a lot of, when you say head fake, well, sometimes there's only one head fake, and sometimes there's a double move, and then sometimes but what we know is it's a 24-hour window after the FOMC that it shakes people out. Like, I'm not going to be surprised to see us reject on Bitcoin and maybe start heading down, but then maybe that's a fake out. Maybe we start heading back down towards 64,000. Everyone's like, all right, here we go. We're bearish again. And then boom, it shoots up and it goes to the upside. My point here is let's not try to jump the gun and count chickens where they hatch. A lot of times there are head fakes after FOMC meetings, but just because we're bullish right now doesn't mean we won't continue bullish. That could be the head fake itself, is that historically we always reverse, and then this time we won't. Like, I tell people when you're trading the FOMC meeting, really watch things tightly. Don't leave your computer screen because things can change on a dime in this 24 hours, and it's a sketchy zone to trade in the world of crypto. So just be prepared. I can't say with 100% certainty whether I think that the bottom of this little correction is in or if we're going to go a little further. I'm leaning – at this point, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm still leaning towards I think there's a little more left in the tank that the Bears can push. Yeah. But at the same time, it would not surprise me. And I've been buying crypto, just so you guys know, even though I think prices are going lower, I've been buying crypto over the last 24 hours because I'm looking at altcoins down 30%. And I'm saying, yeah, they could go to 40. Yeah, Bitcoin could go to 28. But I'm not sure of it. So I'm going to buy this dip while it's here and it's existing.
Yeah. I think a lot of people get so caught up in forgetting that the present is the moment that matters the most, right? If you have a gift given to you today in this hour of cheaper assets that you have high conviction in, take the gift. Don't assume that you're going to have that same opportunity tomorrow. And that's a strong sales pitch, right? Don't make a decision that you're going to regret. But ultimately, that is really the mindset here. of the winner. And someone who's getting too caught up in the ifs and the shoulds and the woulds and the coulds and doesn't take that opportunity today is going to get left behind. And I know that's why a lot of people just don't even trade on FOMC days, because there's just a lot of weird volatility that it's certain that volatility is going to be there, right? So just don't trade. Take the day off. Go to the pool. Crack open a cold one, stretch out on the towel, and don't think too hard. And ultimately, that is before we got into this moment of like a little bit bearishness, that meme that started to emerge was don't think about it too hard, right? Left curve this, and you're going to be just as good as the smartest traders if you just left curve it, right? And just do what they're doing, which is DCAing, just buying more Bitcoin, especially when it's low, especially when Satoshi is bringing, a gift to your door for free. So there you go. I absolutely love it. We've got a factoid of the day here. It is FOMC themed. Are we ready to get into it?
Let's do it.
Awesome. So the factoid of the day brought to you guys by iTrust Capital. iTrust Capital is our number one preferred way to go ahead and invest into IRAs, traditional and Roth. And if you click the link in the description, you can actually get a free 100, not a chance to win a free 100. You're going to get $100 for setting up the account and depositing into it. So what the factoid of the day is, what island? Oh, no.
What island? So I can't guess.
Tim, you didn't see it? Good. What island?
Did you show the answer?
There was some technical difficulties.
Oh, my freaking cup was blocking the answer. All right, well,
sorry. All right. Sorry, Caleb. What island was the Federal Reserve originally planned out by American elites in 1910?
Wait, but we've had this question before. I haven't seen the answer, but we have literally had this question on the show before.
And you know what? That is adding insult to injury.
Because it's Jekyll Island. I got it wrong last time, and I'm telling you guys, you might not be learning from these factoids of the day, but I learn every single day. And if my life ever went into jeopardy and one of these questions asked, I remember these things. It was Jekyll Island.
Tim, your brain is like a sponge, my man. You never forget, especially when it's the right answer. Jekyll Island.
Yeah. Not a doubt in my mind. Because again, I think that's been the factoid before.
Right.
The elf's losing a step here, T-Shroom. We might need to look into cutting his salary.
We might need to look into having a good. Well, we don't want to do that because then we'll get HR everywhere. But we'll have a talk with him and we'll sit him down.
HR stands for Human Resources. He's an elf.
Right. That's true. The ER.
Yeah.
So speaking of ER, let's keep it moving here. At the end of November 1910. Senator Nelson Aldrich, an Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Treasury Department, Piet Andrew, and 5 of the country's leading financiers. Oh, so finance has been a significant industry historically, too, not just in the present. Interesting. Yeah. Frank Vanderbilt, Henry P. Davidson, Benjamin Strong, and Paul Wahlberg, no affiliation, arrived at Jekyll Island Club to conduct a secret meeting to plan the country's monetary policy and banking system, formulating during the meeting the Federal Reserve as America's next central bank. So I don't think this is even a rumor. I think this is documented. I visited Jekyll Island with some of my fiance's family, and we had a really good time. It's a beautiful area, and if you ask anybody who works there about the Federal Reserve, they will roll their eyes and they will say, "Oh my gosh, are you here shooting another documentary? We actually kind of don't want you guys here." They're so over it. I think that wow. I don't think that they're like being told to like deflect. I think they're generally over it because probably the kind of people who go down there and try to make Jekyll Island documentaries about the Federal Reserve are probably completely off their rocker, and they're giving us a bad name. Us Federal Reserve pro auditors, which I'm not lumping you guys into that, but I stand with the Paul family that the Federal Reserve should be audited at some point. So we'll see. But that's the factoid of the day. We're learning something here. We're not just learning about our crypto portfolios. We're also learning about American history.
Yeah, let's get into some Q&A. Caleb, anytime you need to roll, you're good to go. We'll probably go until 4:10, 4:15-ish, getting some Q&A.
We do have bro time today.
Yes, we do right after bro time. So let's get some questions in here. Also, by the way, guys, love having everyone in chat. Please be engaging in there. We love having your guys' thoughts, your comments. Don't spam. Don't spam comments. That is an immediate deletion of your comments / timeout. sometimes it doesn't matter whether you're 5 years old, 17 years old, or 47 years old. Everyone can use a good timeout from time to time.
That's
even
true.
on the internet. And you learn your lesson. You move on. We're so glad you're here. Please don't spam the comments. What are your guys' questions for Caleb? What's your questions for T-Shroom? Someone said T-Shroom, we should have a factoid of the day, in which case we question which factoids have been used twice.
That's pretty good.
It's like a factoid. Factoid. What was it?
Factoidception. What you're looking for?
Inception. Yeah, factoid inception. It's a good idea.
Perfect.
Good idea.
You totally landed that, Tim, and I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
it's great. It's great. What is T-Shroom drinking in that cup? It's so I've got a little. This is a Sonoma Classic, a heritage breed. No, this is just an Alana energy drink mixed with some LaCroix. So
some LaCroix,
the good stuff. You know, a little bit of energy, a little extra kick for the bros. I'm actually normally a very lethargic, slow talker, but when I get a little bit of energy drink in me, things change. Tim, at some point we got to let the bros know what kind of energy drink we drink that fuels the bros, so that they too can partake in the energy that we experience. But as of now, we're just going to keep it a secret. But one day we'll tell you.
You
guys,
might not be able to be a Brody's daddy, but you can drink what's in this cup.
That's right.
And at the moment, it's water. But it sometimes has other things in it, for sure. But we're waiting on someone to pay us money to tell you what's in that cup. So, if you know a good drink that tastes good and wants to sponsor this channel, let us know, and they can find their way into Brody's daddy's mug.
Caleb, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Not to change the subject quickly around something that nobody cares about, Brody's mug, but really quickly for you. So in Europe, you're in Europe, you're traveling around. Is there any kind of caffeine products that people in America would never have thought of that exist there?
They just have like different brands of energy drinks.
Gotcha.
But I mean, it's all pretty much the same. There's a lot of tea and a lot of different random energy drinks, like from Germany. Like there was one that I was drinking in Albania. It was called like Dragon something. I can't even remember, but it was really good. I was like, oh, I'm getting this.
Hey, listen, that piqued my interest. Dragons in the name, it's got to be an interesting drink.
I love it. Another question I got for you, Caleb. Are there any altcoins or any stocks that you're buying on this dip? I guess stocks aren't correlated with the crypto dip, but maybe Bitcoin mining stocks. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what are you buying anything on this dip other than Bitcoin?
So let's see. Today I bought spot Bitcoin. I bought a little bit more MicroStrategy. I bought ETHE. And I didn't buy any alts today. I did buy alts yesterday, Monday, and on Sunday, where I'm just really kind of just DCA and chill, just buying spot, just marginally increasing my exposure. I'm probably at like 15 or 10%, somewhere between 10 and 15% cash in the trading portfolio right now. So if we do get a little bit more of that dip that Tim might be expecting, like I'm not ruling that out. So, if we do get that kind of consolidation, I'll be looking to add. But I'm even trying to think. I've been buying FET. I've been buying Render.
Nice.
That's a good one. We were covering FET the other day. FET majorly, and you bought it. Did you buy it this morning? Did you buy it like early this morning or last night or something? Up 16%.
I bought it sometime. Today. Yeah, I mean, these AI names are going to continue to do really well. Yeah. I know someone even mentioned it in the chat, but I think the CEO or someone who's involved at Render is speaking at the NVIDIA conference today.
6 p.m. tonight or something is what I saw. Okay. Zachary Martin post. Yeah.
So, I think both FET and Render look really strong. Those have been the leaders of this market cycle, in my opinion, in terms of like a thematic kind of play in the AI space. You guys also mentioned AIOZ earlier. That's another one of the kind of AI related themes that people should have on their radar. I think I bought some more near. Sorry?
Yeah. Have you picked up AIOZ?
I'm not in it right now, but I have been trading it in the past.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know. That one's not on my radar. So now it is. Some alpha.
We have a good question here in chat from DGen Psychonaut, saying, what is your opinion on a daily DCA out strategy? So I read that. I thought he was asking what the strategy would look like. He's saying, what's your opinion on having a DCA strategy? DCA out strategy, by the way. I'm going to start. That is the way to go, in my opinion. If the concept at the bottoms is to DCA in, the concept at the top should be to DCA out. That's my thought. Now, the question for me is becoming, what is the price / time to start DCing out, that's where it gets a little bit more complex, a little bit more. That's where you find more debate. Caleb and T-Shirt, what are your thoughts of a DCA out strategy? Are you a let's just try to take the top and just take everything you want to take profit out at one time, or are you going to be a sporadic, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here? What's your guys' thoughts?
I think when we do get into that exponential phase, which we're obviously not there yet, I think you want to have a DCA phase out strategy. I think doing it daily is probably too fast.
Yeah.
I would just kind of exercise your own discretion, right? Especially like when we're seeing massive days of Bitcoin being up 10, 15, maybe even 20% in a single day, or Ethereum or these different altcoins going up that much. That's when you're going to want to take some chips off the table, not necessarily on a daily basis. Like for me, I'm just going to kind of operate at my own discretion.
Yeah, makes sense. What about you, T-Shirt?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's too early to have this conversation, right? In terms of like actually applying this. This does not apply to Bitcoin now. Just to make it clear, you wouldn't let a DCA out of this dip. That's not what we're saying at all. So when the time comes to start to sell, right? Caleb mentioned kind of a parabolic, right, an exponential move, which we're not seeing yet. Yeah, I'm absolutely going to DCA out. Not going to sell it all at once. And in fact, I'm really going back and forth on whether I'm going to sell any Bitcoin at all, or if I'm going to sell more than 90% of my Bitcoin. I'm thinking probably Bitcoin miners and the altcoins I have invested in. Those are probably going to go. I'm probably going to sell those. But I don't know. I came into Bitcoin really for it to be a hedge against my equity holdings, the U.S. equity holdings, and what it's proven to be after researching it for so long is the top asset. And it's a commodity, and I just don't. It doesn't feel right to sell Bitcoin, but right. What did I preface this with? This isn't the time to have this conversation. So I may feel differently by the time we get to those nosebleed levels of whatever it's going to be, $200,000, $300,000, $600,000 Bitcoin, whatever it's going to be, maybe only $75,000 Bitcoin, whatever it is for you bears out there. I'll throw you a bone. But ultimately, I will absolutely be DCing out. Tim, I saw a question here. I'd love to get some.
Well, I want to do one more thing on that one. Something I'm exploring, and I'm looking into it, looking into what you can really do with it. Of course, Michael Saylor recently has caught a lot of attention with his statements. I'm buying Bitcoin. I'm never selling Bitcoin. Well, here's the thing: if you're never going to sell it, how do you ever actually use the wealth? You can borrow against Bitcoin. So you guys know I have goals for the end of this bull market. I want to buy a house. I want to get into some diversification of the business. There are certain things I'm probably going to have to take some profit on Bitcoin, but I'm looking very heavily right now into the concept of getting with all my altcoins, getting to levels where I like my profit on altcoin, and rather than cashing out and taking the USD, moving it into Bitcoin and looking for ways to leverage Bitcoin into purchasing the things that will keep making me money longer term. I haven't decided exactly what that allocation is, but I'm looking a lot more into this, and we're seeing the space as a whole is really heating up what you can do with having Bitcoin holdings. For example, I have looked at it. You absolutely can get a house on a mortgage that is borrowing against your Bitcoin. Now, you want to find the ones with the right interest rates and everything else, but at the same time, even if your interest rate's sitting close to what it is in US dollars, just do some simple math. Do I want to liquidate a heavy amount of Bitcoin and then pay heavy interest rate in US dollars? Or do I take the same or potentially slightly higher interest rate, but that Bitcoin over the next 40 years of my life is going to, I don't know, like 100x, 300x, 500x, and I can just sit there and it stays my Bitcoin for a long, long time? There's pros and cons, obviously. I'm not trying to advise everybody just put all their money in Bitcoin, then for the rest of your life borrow against it. You need to be smart. It takes a lot of tact, a lot of business sense, but there's a reason why people like Michael Saylor and others do things like that. It works out for them, and if you know how to handle money, that absolutely is a play, and it's one that I'm considering actually pretty heavily now, T-Shirt. So we're going to see. My plans are changing on how much Bitcoin I'm actually going to be liquidating.
Yeah.
Altcoins, I plan on at the end of this bull market having very, very little altcoins in my portfolio.
Yeah. And that can change too, in my opinion, because I agreed with pretty much everything you said there, Tim. But it could change too. I could start to see, at some point it's going to become clear what the Googles and the Amazons and the Facebooks of the crypto world are, right? off the top of my head, you could kind of start to say maybe Chainlink would be in that category. Maybe Solana and Ethereum are starting to get into that category, right? But at the end of the day, right now, they're the names that are going to be the next Amazon, Google, Microsoft of crypto. They may not even have emerged yet, or they may have emerged, but they're in like the low 2000s, market by market cap. We had a question here: how do you see ETH price action if the spot ETF is rejected? I think this is growing. I think right now, the hot topic's obviously the Fed, kinda. But, I think this is the biggest emerging narrative in crypto right now. We had a pretty big movement on it today. BlackRock creates tokenized asset fund, shows an SEC filing, and it looks like it's going to be an Ethereum-based tokenization outlay, a build-out of who knows how big proportion. I mean, if this is going to be BlackRock that's leading this movement, it could be the big one, right? This is kind of at the chagrin of chains like Chainlink and AVAX, which kind of were also slotted to maybe be the tokenization coins that BlackRock would partner with to make this roll out. But what do you all think, and also how does this relate to the Ethereum spot ETF rollout?
What do you think, Caleb?
I mean, I think that the odds of a spot Ethereum ETF getting approved have been declining, right? And so, like, even despite that decline, we've seen ETH continue to chug higher. It just goes back to the classic saying of a rising tide lifts all boats. Bitcoin is that rising tide, right? So, so long as Bitcoin is continuing to exhibit bullish price action, we'll see that ripple effect kind of participate throughout the broader crypto ecosystem, irrespective of what is going to be approved with a spot Ethereum ETF. Yeah, I mean, I'll leave my comments there on that.
Yeah, I'm going to keep mine short. Ultimately, I think the ETF is still happening. I look at those numbers. I see the prediction stuff. Maybe it doesn't happen in May. Maybe something happens that delays past May, but I think we will get an Ethereum ETF. And we're seeing the backing of BlackRock and several others. I want people to know, when I made my prediction for Ethereum to hit 18,000, potentially go to 20,000, that was before there was heavy interest in Ethereum ETF. To me, I think Ethereum ETF sweetens the pot of what Ethereum can get to, but it was going to go high with or without that ETF.
Yep.
And I think that's still true today. I wanted to, as we're kind of wrapping up, because I was thinking about this. By the way, Bitcoin, everybody, let's go to my chart. Bitcoin breaking out above 66. So it's pumping right here, broke that resistance level. Nice. So that is good. Let's get some candle body closes above. But well on its way, Bitcoin making some bullish moves here. I want to caution people, still lower highs, even though we're breaking a trend. The first thing you will see here, you want to break a trend. Check. We got it. We broke a trend. Now let's get some candle closes high. I would love to see Bitcoin get back above 69,000 to feel super positive about a move, because I want to just chart vision for you guys. Guess what happens if this happens? That is a inverse head and shoulders pattern, which long-term is bullish, but we could see price go back down again. So just keep an eye out for what could happen here in the future. My thoughts about Bitcoin, though, going back to the question before, even the concept of borrowing more Bitcoin, and I'm circling back here because I forgot one of my reasons for even bringing that up, and my brain thinking that. I want to get your take on this, Caleb, and yours, T-Shroom. Where are you guys at in terms of your fear of your ability in the future to acquire Bitcoin? Because as the Bitcoin ETFs continue to grow and grow and grow, and you see, BlackRock, Fidelity, others, they're going to keep gobbling up to feed their, filings. Then you're going to have your Michael Saylors of the world who do nothing but buy and never sell. Of course, you're going to continue to watch other entities just like them that just aren't named make the same concept. I have a fear that if I sell my Bitcoin in heavy modes this market, how, not just price-wise, because price is one way to think about how hard it is to get Bitcoin back, but even accessibility and liquidity-wise, how hard could it be in the future to acquire Bitcoin? I think that we're in some of the last days of the greatest possible chance to be stacking your sats with actually having sats, not synthetic sats via an ETF or via a trading bot, or what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
Where are you guys sitting with that? Because that, again, that's something that's kind of crept up on me recently. The fear, if I sell my Bitcoin, will I ever be able to even acquire that much ever again, no matter where my wealth is?
It's anxiety, right? It's like no matter how much Bitcoin I own, I always feel like I don't own enough, right?
Yeah.
And I think one thing that's important to kind of contextualize about this as well, I know people love TA and the price structure analysis, is aside from the last bear market, Bitcoin bear markets had never fallen below the former cycle highs, right? So that's why so many people thought that the bear market lows were going to be at 19,000 last cycle, and we got that kind of liquidation wick down into the 15K range. But if we apply that same rule of thumb to this current cycle, that means that we should not fall below 69,000 after we reach whatever the cycle peak is this cycle, right? And so here we are today sitting at now just above 66,000, right? It's like, okay, well, if we apply that same rule of thumb, we're going to be right around whatever the bear market lows are after this bull market kind of subsides, right? And again, like past performance is never indicative of future returns. We learned that last cycle when we fell below the highs from the prior cycle highs. But, I think it's an interesting thing to think about and be like, oh yeah, like, if we do continue to move into a bull market, as cycle theory suggests, as all of these bullish indicators suggest, as the economy stays resilient, as the Fed is getting ready to cut, as they're looking to slow down the rate of balance, like all of these bullish catalysts taking place, we're seeing the bullish follow through in terms of price action. We're seeing an uptrend, all of these different things taking place. If and when we do get that the bear market pullback, wouldn't we just be basically right where we are today? So are you any worse off? And the answer is probably no, right? So I don't know. It's interesting to think about, but I definitely get that anxiety, Tim. I can definitely relate.
Yeah, and I just a quick response as well. I mean, do I feel the fear? I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't characterize my emotion as fearful. I think I'm much more hesitant to sell Bitcoin than I was before, right? So when we get to, a lot of folks have kind of calculated out fall of 2025 is going to probably be the prime time to sell Bitcoin. If you wanted to rotate back into USD, right? But that's the part that I'm having a problem with, and I don't know that it's fear, but I'm having a problem with it logically. Why would I flip back into USD? Right? It's starting to become, keeping Bitcoin, which you can afford to lose. It's starting to become keeping US dollars, which you can afford to lose, because it's just so convincing at this point. You have BlackRock getting behind Bitcoin. You have Fidelity. You have, so many big institutions, the State Pension Fund of Japan taking a look at it, probably in the next 6 months, maybe 12 months, going to be making an allocation to it, right? It just seems like at this point, we're entering that, and then they join you phase, and I don't want to be rotating out of Bitcoin at that point in time when they're joining me, right? So it'd be kind of like building a huge castle, getting attacked, and then the people who are attacking you are like, we're not going to overcome this guy. And then they kneel to you, and then you leave the castle. It just doesn't make any sense. I know it's maybe a oversimplified analogy there, but kind of the way that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah. It's something I'm curious just how it works in the future. And again, the more rare that Bitcoin becomes, meaning the amount of demand just piling up, but the amount of locked up Bitcoin going away and not being available, I'm sitting here even wondering, like something Caleb said, like, charting would tell you we might move back down to similar levels where we currently are for the bottom of the next bear market. But what if that doesn't happen? What if all of us smart money, all of us smart Bitcoin investors, we get to fall of 2025 and we're like, all right, 4-year cycle, time to sell. We sell off in bulk. And BlackRock, Fidelity, and they're just like, thank you, we'll take those Satoshis. And then we get like a 20% pullback, and then that was the bear market. Like, I know that'd be awesome. Let's halt before that happens. I'm not saying that we're not gonna have a bear market ever again where we see maybe 30-40% pullback, but that's the reality where we at. Like, bear markets in the future for Bitcoin could start to turn into stock market bear markets where it's like 20-30%. And that's the end of it. And then it's time to go back to the upside. So there's just a lot. There's a lot in the futures going on. I think the number one thing for now is, keep stacking sats, keep buying crypto, buying these low prices. We will be along with you guys for the ride, investing bros. We'll keep doing the research, thinking through it. We're not here to give financial advice, but we are here to help teach some options that you can use to further your financial world. It is 4:15. It's time for us to jump over into our bro time. That means all of you members, if you have connected over to Discord, we're going to be going live here as soon as we get off the YouTube channel. But thank you to Caleb Franzen for joining us. It has been a fantastic Wednesday with Caleb Franzen once again. Smash the like button. Go follow Caleb on Twitter. Go subscribe to his newsletter. Those links are down below. T. Shum and I will see you here in just a couple of seconds, all of you members. The rest of you, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Adios.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shout it out loud on the PA. T-Shrooms news, got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots, stack bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.